Donald Trump must be impeached again right now. I don't even really know how to open the door to this topic, but Trump's been impeached twice, once for abusing power in Ukraine, once for inciting an insurrection. Both of those were serious. Both of those were correct. Both of those were historic. He was impeached but not convicted, as you know. Now we're in 2025, and we have something even more fundamental, which is Trump is waging war on the First Amendment. By definition, I would argue that this is a high crime because it violates the Constitution. The framers of the Constitution were really clear about this danger. And if you look at the Federalist Papers, Alexander Hamilton wrote, impeachment exists to address the misconduct of public men, abuses that violate the public trust and undermine the system itself. They didn't want a king. They wanted checks and balances. And they gave Congress the tool of impeachment for moments, I would argue, exactly like this. This is not a policy disagreement. We're not going to impeach someone because of a disagreement about the tax rate. Even if they think the tax rate should be 0 or 100, we might disagree, but we're not going to impeach them for that. We're talking about the First Amendment, your right to speak, your right to criticize the government, your right to protest without being silenced. And if a president can dismantle those protections without consequence, what is the Constitution no longer matters. All the people that pray to the Constitution, borderline pray, see it as a sacred text. If you're not actually defending it, then what are we really doing here? And Trump's doing it in broad daylight. We've got the Jimmy Kimmel fiasco. Stephen Colbert had nothing to do with ratings. It wasn't about creative choices. It was the White House made it clear that mocking Trump was unacceptable. Now Kimmel's back because ABC was losing money, but Sinclair and Nexstar don't seem to be airing the show. But then Trump said, maybe we will sue ABC for bringing Kimmel back. This is a major impeachable problem. You've then got Trump's lawsuits, media companies that are getting buried under legal attacks, not because they fabricated stories, because they dared to allow comedy, to allow satire, in some cases simply to report the truth about Trump. The lawsuits aren't about correcting the record for Trump. They're about intimidating. And they're about making it so expensive and risky to challenge Trump that people start to self-censor. And they say, this is what I believe, this is what the truth is, but I'm not going to say it. Doesn't stop with the press and comedy, because then you look at protesters. Protesters are facing unprecedented crackdowns. Permits are being denied. Rallies are being broken up. Activists targeted with surveillance. The right to assemble and speak freely and hold your government accountable. These are also under attack by the Trump administration. If a comedian can't joke about the president, if a reporter can't investigate the president, if a citizen can't protest the president, what is left of the First Amendment? And this is why impeachment exists. The House doesn't have to invent any new rule. The House doesn't have to develop some novel interpretation of the Constitution or of the duty of impeachment. The standard is really simple. Measure what Trump is doing against the Constitution. Lay Trump's suppression of speech alongside the First Amendment. And when you do it, there's only one conclusion. Impeachment isn't just justified. It is mandatory. The House must impeach Trump. Now think about the consequences if the House just kind of shrugs it off. If Trump is allowed to silence speech without any consequence, every future president will know that they can do the same thing. So it might be comedians and journalists now and maybe some protesters, but then next thing you know, it's anybody who dares to speak up, even on social media. And we've seen this play out in authoritarian regimes. Journalists end up in prison. Comedians are driven into exile. Movements are silenced. And if this country goes down that road, I don't know that we come back. So this is beyond left or right. This is not about whether you agree with Jimmy Kimmel's jokes or the editorial perspective of the Washington Post versus the Wall Street Journal. This is simply, does the United States have a constitution worth defending? And that's why this moment is so stark. So the House of Representatives has a choice. It either enforces the Constitution or it admits the First Amendment is optional, which is a tragedy. Once you cross that line, democracy is optional. So that's the reality and that's the danger. I don't believe that there is a political question here as to impeachment. It is a constitutional obligation. If abuse of power in Ukraine was impeachable, which it was, if the incitement of insurrection was impeachable, and it was, then Trump's assault on free speech has to be done. It is the most impeachable act yet. It's the line. Cross it, and the First Amendment is gone. Cross it, and I don't even know if we're still a democracy. So Donald Trump must be impeached. He must be impeached. And it is the duty of the House of Representatives to do that. Every interview with members of the House I do from this point forward, I'm going to ask them about this. And if they say no, I will say, well, why not? You say you'll learn a new language every year, but few of us actually follow through. That's why I always recommend Babbel. It's the app that finally made language learning stick for me. This year, I've got a trip to France planned. I've already started brushing up using Babbel's 10-minute lessons. The app is built around real-life conversations, not games or gimmicks. So I'm learning exactly what I actually need to know when I land. I've even been using Babbel's speech recognition technology to improve my pronunciation. Super helpful. Babbel is designed by over 200 language experts and proven studies from places like Yale and Michigan State. There's a study that found that using Babbel just 15 hours is like a full college semester of a language. They offer 14 languages and more than 16 million people have used it. They've got a 20-day money-back guarantee, so it is risk-free to try. Here's a special limited time deal for my audience. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for my audience at babbel.com/Pakman. Rules and restrictions may apply. The link is in the description.